This bolus from Lip has to go ginormous. They're going to heal up, they're going to deploy the wall, deploy the rush, deploy pretty much everything they've got. They've even got a high noon coming up for Quartz. A retreat here for Crazy Raccoon as Junbin ends up going down and Twisted Minds are rewriting history.
In all fairness, I think Crazy Raccoons threw the absolute fuck out of this last map, but I wanted to watch some EWC matches after they happened, and this one absolutely caught my eye the most, since Crazy Raccoons are obviously the most dominant team of partnership era post-Owl, and TM beating them isn't entirely out of scope, but it's definitely of interest. And I was aware of their strengths being with the sim comp, but I didn't realize how viable it was. I was under the impression at this point that it was good if you could play it, but you know, it's nothing groundbreaking. But it turns out that TM went pretty far. They were semifinalists, and Sim also made an appearance in Al-Qadsaya and Team Falcons comps in the grand finals and throughout some other teams. So I'm thinking it's pretty good. And after watching this match, I'm knowing it's very good. So I'm going to talk about some of the preamble first of why this is showing up, in my opinion, before we get into some gameplay examples. I want to start by saying I don't think you need to play Sim unless you're at a certain level. I'd say mid-masters and above is when I think you need to start implementing Sim in some maps. But any tier below, I think you can get away with not playing this Sim. But it is absolutely worth considering. Usually I'd say don't bother unless you're really inclined, but I think Sim is worth a shot because Falcons, who won the tournament, they didn't play Sim too much, but they played it on a couple maps where I think it really shows dividends. So why is Sim really good? Well, she's had quite a lot of buffs in Overwatch 2's history. She's gotten 275 HP, and over half of that is blue health, which regens. She's had her left click charge up faster to make it more applicable to use. Her right click goes extremely fast and does a lot of damage, but I think the big thing came from a couple seasons ago where her minor perk, the teleportation range increase by 50%, is huge. The difference is this versus this, right? And it's harder to see in practice range, but I'm going to show some examples and point it out specifically where it's really good. You can go very, very far. You can TP on the other side of the map, essentially, and pinch a backline. And again, I'm going to show examples. So what makes the best Sim comps? Well, a lot of immobile heroes work really well. Poke heroes, you can see stuff like Cassidy and Bap work really well. I think the best comp right now is D.Va, Bap, Cass, Lucio, Symmetra, because Bap, Cass go really well with just constantly putting out pressure. Same with D.Va. And if you're able to play up and then get a kite back with speed, maybe, and then you can TP behind them, you have constant output of pressure. When they dive or engage you, you can just TP away, and they've used all their cooldowns, and you've ended up on their backline. So it's just so free. I think Ram also works really well because his ability to, I think, block is just disgustingly broken, and being able to play shield is really good, and the ability to pierce and do a lot of damage to Sim really easily works really well. And I think Barissa is extremely weak because of she is not able to block anything from Sim. You can just play Sim, walk up to her, and she cannot do anything. Even when she has gold up, you're just still farming her, right? So I'm going to get into a couple gameplay examples and show what I'm talking about. So this variant is with the Sojourn, and Sojourn is probably the best hero in this meta. She's super easy to slot into any comp. And what you're going to want to do with this comp is you want to have the Soj build rail. The D.Va's going to look to play up, see what she can scout, see what she can do damage to, bait out some cooldowns, create some opportunities to TP on. And once Soj has a rail, you are definitely going and TPing that Soj to an angle where she can get a rail. So here's this first example. The back line is TP'd. The front line of CR try and go. They're too late. The TP happens. Funny Astro dies, but Quartz gets the kill on Lip. And that's going to happen again in an almost identical fight. And Heesong's not able to get off and engage, and Junbin's all over the place, and they just do the same thing without a trade. So that's pretty easy. I'm going to go in order of this map and the clips I have, but there's going to be way more examples of TPs. I arguably have too many. So the next example is when CR have taken point, and they're going to try and retake. And this is definitely what you don't want to do, because this comp wants to be active. They want to create opportunities for TPs. They want a TP away if they're not ready. And the worst thing you could do into a comp like this that wants to set up angles like Crazy Raccoons is you TP into the middle of it. Especially when they have double DPS ult. They TP in the middle. They try to catch Junbin. He's not going to have that happen. He even blocks B with his bubble. He dies. But it's just not worth it. You just ult on top. So the next clip is going to be here. This is a really good TP. So what you see here is Quartz gets the rail hit before on Shu, and then they can get the TP off. Super easy. Doesn't have a TP target in time. He's just going to die, right? That's another really good example of how the TP is extremely strong. And this one is probably the most visual example I could find of the TP perk, because at this point, they're absolutely going to have the minor perk for Sim. And as you can see, KSA is being really active right now. He's looking to create opportunities. They TP back. And what's going to happen here? Quartz is there, and you're going to see him in a second. He build rail before, and he just gets the shot. It's that easy, right? That's a perfect example. Look how far that TP went. It went from almost the back of point here to all the way there. You could argue that maybe you don't need the perk there, but the perk makes it so you can do this in almost any scenario at almost any distance, and it just works so perfect for this comp. This is going to be an example of the fight happening on Crazy Raccoon's terms. So I'm going to start the clip here. And like I said, again, Twisted Minds wants to be active beforehand. They don't want to just TP into the middle of something and they don't know what they're looking for, right? So this is pretty close. And what happens is Junbin, he's going to get his primal, and the TP happens. They're not really, able to go on anything. If they wanted to go on Shu here, then he would just TP away most likely. There is no chance for Quartz to build a rail, and Junbin's just able to farm. He's able to get so much value, especially with double spam DPS. So what I would want TM to do here is I want them to TP to White Room, and I don't want them to go as far up, and I want Quartz to look to get a rail playing on one of these side areas here or to the left, and he builds that rail, and he goes for a shot, and maybe he's able to get something off. KSA can look to play up as well, and he can look to create opportunities. But again, this is just walking into a kill box for Crazy Raccoons, and it's just free work for them. This is an example of Sim Wall being disgustingly broken as well. It's not something I mentioned during my preamble, but it's so disgustingly good where you can pop this and it lasts for, I think, at least 10 seconds, I think longer, and you're just able to stabilize in the middle of it so easily, right? It affects so much more of an area than Kitsune does, and being able to just stabilize on point with a shield, especially against a spam comp, allows Quartz to get a free shot without far spamming him at all. It's such a good ult, and is probably the best ult in the comp, I would argue. For a lot of the scenarios you're looking for, you could set up a wall looking to take space, and then you're closer to them. You can look to poke maybe. You can shut someone out very, very easily, like the DPS, and you have free reign from one of the angles. It's really good. I don't have too much of a point here. I just thought it was funny that UB died like this. But splitting off, not coordinated, is a death sentence for playing into a comp like CR's, because they're super capable of punishing it with all the mobility they have and all the angles they're able to take. So when you're looking to TP, you want to make sure that your backline is together and you're not splitting off like that, doing solo angles. I think this is the best example of how you should play versus the sim comp if you're anti-sim and you want to play against it. So this is a bit of a longer clip, but what's going to happen at the start is Heesong, he's going to go by point side, and the right thing that TM does is that they TP away, but CR is able to get out, right? They're able to stabilize on point a bit. Jumba gets healed. He's able to jump away. Barely lives. The sim wall comes out and they don't fight with it, right? It's really hard to fight in the sim wall. It's so easy to engage in it, and then they just leave, right? You don't take that fight. And you just use your movement cooldowns to get away. Again, happens here. Shu barely gets out. But Heesong, he's put off a lot of damage. And they're able to get that pick onto KSA, and it just crumbles from there. So this is kind of a cat and mouse game where you have to save your movement cooldowns playing versus a comp like Twisted Minds, so you can get out and avoid the TPs onto you, right? If you just play to run away and then reset your cooldowns, I hit my mic, if run away, reset your cooldowns and not get caught by this, you're golden, right? And a lot of the times that means your DPS playing with your supports so that you can help them get away. Playing alone, like UB did in the clip, we laughed at him, but that other comp can do the same thing, right? CR can do that arguably even easier. I've skipped to one non-sim example, and that might sound odd, but I just wanted to highlight how Twisted Minds are so sim ingrained, it looks like in this clip. So KSA steps up, and they're playing versus a very heavy frontline comp from Crazy Raccoons, Venture Tracer Ball, extremely heavy. And it looks like they're in their mind, they're stacked, and they want to play for a TP here, but they don't have that, as Crazy Raccoons decided to ban it here, and then they win the map off of it. But the backline walking here without any poke or any preamble damage, Jumbin's able to go off of a slam nade. It's disgusting. They delay so hard, and they're just able to repeat this over and over. So this just highlights the difference with the sim, because with the sim, you can TP away from this entirely. You can go to the left, you can go to the right, and you're able to TP away from the setup and break it entirely. That highlights how good the sim is, right? Because otherwise, you'd have to have your backline maybe rotate. Your front line has to do a lot of the damage, displacing the ball and the other DPS, but it's so much easier when you can just TP away. So this is an example of the cast. There's no BAP here, but I think the cast is more than enough to show this. And this is an example of the cast being able to play up, and he is able to just TP away from the engage entirely, right? You could also TP even further back, but the map's going to run out of space, so you could just TP behind them, right? You can create this infinite loop for yourself where you're never running out of map space. So Quartz, he's going to get some shots off. They get the engage, and then there's the TP, and Quartz, he's there with the high noon. He's going to stick with it, and he TPs back even. So they're looking back after the engage, and now they're inside of them. You're just breaking their ankles, right? It's disgustingly broken. And then we're going to go to 130-40. And then we're going to see this with way more poke. That Quartz, he's going to step up here with his team. And then they're just breaking the ankles, right? It doesn't look like there's a full team TP here. It's hard to tell. But just two of them, if they're able to play the TP, you're forcing them into two halves. And it's just a free pinch there. The Diva can do so much to catch up to targets wherever they are, and the cast is able to play back and forth between the TP or even your Alari in this instance. I'm going to see another example at 137-50. This is going to be on attack. This is why having the sim is so good, especially against dive comps where you could just set up like this. You're just able to break that setup entirely. And they're able to barely live it. This is considered a bit of a blind TP, arguably, but it works out for them. And then from here, this is perfect. This is the best example of it, is where Quartz, he gets dove, TP's away. Jumbin's used all his movement cooldowns, all his cooldowns, and same with the rest of the team, especially Hisang being a diver with Jumbin, and he's just able to be on the other side of the map, and he's able to get more damage off, and they have to find him again. And then one more example of this, because it happens so much. Going to be doing some good damage here. Realize the Venture's in, bam, High Noon. And you can go back again after they try to catch up to you. And then you catch Hisang again. And the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is a clip here where you can still beat this comp, right? You just have to avoid taking this pressure beforehand. You have to realize that if the D.Va's going too far in front, trying to pressure, you might be able to punish her if she's out of her team's LOS, and you have to just run away from the TP. Or if you've had a setup and they do a bad TP, then you just collapse on it, right? Or you could collapse on your teammate if they don't die, and you can trade them out positively, right? So this is going to be a blind TP. They immediately die to the Venture, and that's because they didn't do anything beforehand, right? They weren't able to create an opportunity to bait cooldowns or anything, bait and engage. What they could have done instead is that they could have TP'd to the right over here, break in that kill box a bit, and get some poke out. They bait and engage over here. Then they could TP up top maybe if they have the minor perk. So that's going to be it. If you need a refresher of anything, go back in the video. I've discussed it in enough depth, and yeah, hopefully this wasn't too long either. Peace out.